Ever felt your life is frozen? All of us have felt that way at some point. Often that happens when we feel our career is on ice. Of course, related to that is feeling the pressure to generate income. That need to make money is part of life. So if you felt that way, you're not alone. Think of Walt Disney. Yes, that Walt Disney. Mickey Mouse, Disney parks, and a lot of amazing success. But it wasn't always that way for Walt. Did you know he went bankrupt? Did you know that evil men and women ripped him off? His pre-Mickey cartoon character was snatched from his hands. That made him feel hopeless. Ever had your dreams snatched from your hands? Your dreams and plans crushed? Here's another fact about Walt. He was abandoned by people who were his closest friends, even the co-creator of Mickey Mouse. Unbelievable, but so real life. But even being bankrupt, ripped off, and abandoned by friends, Walt overcame, just like you and I can. So what can we learn from Walt's comeback? Here are some ideas about overcoming challenges. Just like Walt, we've all had down times. So Walt was broke and living on canned beans. Not an easy time in his life. Having gone bankrupt with his first animation studio in Kansas City, he was a bit aimless in his first weeks in Hollywood. He even thought about giving up animation and attempted to be a live-action movie director. That would have changed the world. No Mickey Mouse and no Disneyland. If you're like me, difficult times can cause us to doubt our talents and direction. Now, before we review how Walt overcame all these challenges, a bit of background. When Walt got to Hollywood, he lived with his brother Roy. Roy was in LA to recover from a serious illness. Not a great time for Roy either. At the time, he was selling vacuum cleaners door to door and encouraged Walt to get a real job. Forget this animation stuff. So how did Walt overcome to become Walt Disney? The answer is actually similar to our world today. Like today's social media, Walt had created a network of people who knew him. People that believed in him, even if it appeared he was a lost cause. A network of friends can lead to new opportunities. In a nutshell, what we learned from Walt's first challenge of being down on his luck, Walt believed in himself, even if he was struggling. That's a great skill to learn. Believe in yourself and grow your network, even if times are tough. Also, Walt had enthusiasm. Being upbeat and positive attracts people. So how did Walt break out of being down on his luck? After months of wandering around LA, a woman in New York named Margaret remembered Walt. Just like we keep in touch today by social media, Walt had done the same. Margaret remembered Walt. So what are the takeaways of seeing Walt down on his luck and how he overcame? Maintain your network of connections and keep a positive attitude. It worked for Walt, it'll work for us. So new opportunities arose for Walt because of his network and his enthusiasm. With Margaret paying Walt to distribute his cartoons, he and Roy started their studio. It was the beginnings of what we now know as the Walt Disney Studio. Walt was feeling great. He bought a house, he brought his other animator friends to Hollywood, and he got married. He even created his first famous character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Long before Bugs Bunny, Oswald was a star. Walt was on a roll. In Walt's mind, everything was sunny skies from now on. You knew from the introduction to Walt's life that there had to be villains. Enter the villain. Remember, Walt created the cartoons, and Margaret's company distributed them to movie theaters. But then Margaret got married to a guy named Charles Minsk. Margaret and Charles saw an opportunity. Walt had forgotten to legally own his character, Oswald. Oswald belonged to the three-way partnership, Margaret, Charles, and Walt. Uh-oh, 2 against 1. So the villains, Margaret and Charles, decided they could cut Walt out, steal Oswald, and have other animators draw the cartoons. Walt was expendable. Ever feel that way? Well, you're not alone. Everybody has. The key is to find creative ways to overcome. Walt's a great example. He took a rotten situation and turned it into a gold mine. First, a bit of background on how Oswald was stolen. As we mentioned earlier, Walt was on top of the world, just married and ready for a honeymoon. He decided to go to New York for his honeymoon and at the same time meet with Margaret and Charles. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone, honeymoon and a quick meeting. But Walt was walking into a trap. In New York, Margaret and Charles told Walt they were taking over, cutting him out. Oswald belonged to them. So in a matter of minutes, Walt lost Oswald and he lost his cartoon distributor. In effect, he lost everything. No distributor to sell cartoons to the movie theaters, no income coming in. Walt was isolated on an island. He and his wife get on a train back to Hollywood feeling hopeless. Lillian, his wife, later wrote that she was filled with fear and scared to death. It was a horrible time. Of course, we've all had situations like that, when we feel isolated and opportunities seem to have vanished. But just like Walt, we have to overcome. So how did he do it? Well, there is the legend that he created Mickey Mouse on the train ride home. But people around him would later say it was really about taking a bit of time to reflect and meeting on a regular basis with his team. And that's good advice. Taking time to reflect and meeting with the people that care about you. Having your career and your dreams stolen does take time to process. So it's okay to take some time and reflect, because out of that reflection could be your Mickey Mouse. That's how Walt did it. In a few short months, Mickey was a global superstar, and the rest is history. This is the most fascinating part of Walt's journey. Also, it reveals life-changing insight for us. Understanding Walt's experience will help anyone both in life and their careers. Earlier I mentioned that the co-creator of Mickey Mouse abandoned Walt, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's more to the story. At the core, this is about the benefits of knowing your personality and how it impacts your relationship with other people. Knowing your personality type is a key to success. First, let's start with Walt's personality. Don't worry, this is not a psychological study, just a rubber meets the road understanding of people. To relate to our times, Walt Disney's personality was a bit like the captain of the Starship Enterprise. You know, Star Trek. He was more like Captain Kirk than the other captains on the show. Even if you've never seen Star Trek, you know people who are a little like Kirk. They're driven. Mr. Scott, I need more power. And you probably know how people can respond to a Kirk-like personality. Aye, Captain, I can't give you any more. Ever been in that situation? A driven leader asking more from you. It's pressure. Some people love that type of situation, the pressure, while others hate it. Another personality trait of Walt's was he was a visionary, a big picture thinker. Look at Walt's relationship with his brother Roy. Walt had the dreams, and he expected Roy to find a way to pay for his ideas. As we saw before with driven leaders, some people love visionaries, and others can't stand working with them because their head is in the clouds. At times, visionaries can overlook other people because they get lost in their own little world. Of course, that can be frustrating if you're trying to get your ideas across to a visionary. Now let's look at the personality of some of the people that work for Walt. A person who is an animator has to draw very small movement, thousands of small changes in the movement of a character. To make Mickey move, an animator has to be very detail focused. Every change, every detail. It's not a big picture job. It takes the ability to see the smallest change. So let's put the two personality types in the same room. The driven and visionary Walt working side by side with a detail-focused animator. Walt sees 100 steps ahead while the animator is focused on moving Mickey's finger. Instant conflict. Neither personality is right or wrong, just different. Now back to our Kirk example. Mr. Scott, I need more power. Captain, I'm giving it all I've got. The two personalities cause each other stress when working together. One person is stressed to get more done, while the other is stressed to not overlook details. Again, neither is right or wrong, just different. Ever been in a work environment where your personality is different than someone else? It's happened to all of us. Now back to Walt's journey. Remember our main villain, Charles Minsk. He owns Oswald, but the animators drawing Oswald work for Walt. As we've heard, Charles is planning to cut Walt out of the picture. So what does he need? He needs Walt's animators. Some of these animators have worked for Walt since Kansas City, so they're not only employees, they're friends. But as we've mentioned before, you have to ask, how do they interact with Walt's personality? You guessed it. They feel overwhelmed by Walt's drive and vision. Walt sees family and friends, while his animators see a driven taskmaster. So Charles goes behind Walt's back and offers the animators a less stressful work environment. 99% of Walt's team leave to work for Minsk. So as Walt gets off the train from New York, he has nothing. No character, no income, and no team. Walt is starting over from scratch. If you're like me, you feel bad for Walt. But the animators are not wrong. In reality, it was a personality clash, not an abandonment of Walt. They just couldn't work for him. Neither side was wrong. Of course, in hindsight, we all see how either side could have said, "Hey, let's slow down and let's talk this over." With modern leadership training, Walt would have been counseled to slow down and listen more. The ball was in Walt's court. But in real life, the dynamic nature of business often makes it a more complex situation. In other words, it's not that easy. Now back to Walt's journey. After returning to Hollywood, in a nutshell, Walt only had Roy and his lead animator. The lead animator's name was Ub Iwerks, the co-creator of Mickey Mouse. Walt's initial drawings of Mickey were a bit too much like a real mouse. Ub was a better artist and evolved Mickey to be the Mickey that we know today. Creating Mickey Mouse was a team effort. The mouse we see is from Ub.
Up you go, champ!
And Mickey's personality is from Walt. The creation of the most famous mouse in history really was a team effort by two good friends. Now to make a long story short. Within a few months of the creation of Mickey Mouse, Walt and the team had changed the world. Mickey was the first talking cartoon. It was a game changer. Mickey was a rock star. Think of the impact of Elvis or the Beatles. Mickey created the same worldwide sensation. So you would think Walt and Ub would be on top of the world, best friends. But personalities override everything. Walt and Ub were like oil and water. Walt was still driven and Ub was still being overwhelmed. All that money didn't change their situation. In fact, Ub owned 20% of the studio. Just think of what 20% of Walt Disney Studios is worth today. But to Ub, it didn't matter. So he abandoned Walt. While the earlier animators leaving made Walt mad, losing Ub was heartbreaking. The key takeaway is our personality is part of us. Walt's personality drove him, and Ub's personality drove him. A key to being happy in life is to know your personality. There are some great tools like Myers-Briggs that can help you know your personality. If you understand your personality, then you understand how other people interact with you. Well, that's Walt's journey. Broke, ripped off, and abandoned by friends. It's both interesting and educational. Speaking of education, if you want to enhance your career, take a look at our Next Chapter Tech classes. Our initial class is called New Horizon. The goal is to explore new horizons, your new adventure. The class helps you stand out either on the job or during a job interview. It's a game changer for your career. The link to Next Chapter's New Horizon is below. Well, we hope you enjoyed learning how to avoid a frozen life and career. At the end, of course, we have to say many thanks to Walt Disney. What an amazing life.